Welcome. This is Story Impact, an interview series dedicated to authors, and I'm your host, Lisa Tolles. So I started this series because I was seeing a gap in the publishing industry, not enough speaking opportunities for authors to talk about their upcoming books and their artistic vision, and about the impact that they hope their books will make on the reading community and why they matter to the world right now. So these conversations are all about that meaning these stories bring and how that deepens our human experience. I'm also a crime novelist, and you can find my books on Amazon and through other retailers. And to learn more, go to lisatolles.com. All right, so today I'm so happy to be talking with my friend and best-selling crime novelist, John Lansing. We're going to talk about his new crime thriller. John is the best-selling author of 6 thrillers featuring Jack Bertolino, including The Devil's Necktie, Blonde Cargo, Dead is Dead, The Fourth Gunman, 25 to Life, and now released June 4th, Mia, as well as the true crime nonfiction book Good Cop, Bad Money, written with former NYPD Inspector Glenn Morisano. Through his long Hollywood career, Jack's been a writer and supervising producer on Walker, Texas Ranger, co-executive producer of the ABC series Scoundrels, and he co-wrote 2 movies of the week for CBS. His book, The Devil's Necktie, is now in development at Amuse Entertainment, and we're going to ask him about that later. John, welcome, and thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, well, I'm really excited that you're here today, and I'm curious to learn more about your interesting path. You've written for film and television and also numerous fiction and nonfiction books. I'm curious, were those parallel paths, or how did writing manifest for you?
All right. I didn't grow up dreaming to be a writer. It wasn't even on my short list. But now in hindsight, I do think writing books was a natural transition from my time spent working in Hollywood. So writing my first script was a total fluke. I had committed to directing a short film, and a very dear friend of mine, Spencer Eastman, was going to write the script. I was going to produce, and I was going to direct. And then he got really ill, and it was very sad, but I was forced to write the script or give up the project. I wasn't going to give up the project. I had a whole team already assembled. The short film, as it turns out, well, it was a turning point in my life. I wrote the script and discovered that I could do that. I had the skill set. So after an extensive acting career, I was an actor for a long time, I switched gears and moved from working in front of the camera to behind. And I was fortunate enough to be able to start writing for television. And in that move, I could interpret characters instead of, I had to move from interpreting characters to creating characters. And it opened a whole new world for me. My acting career, as it turns out, helped inform the characters I created and helped me understand the emotional roadmap I needed to flesh out complex characters. And my television work, it taught me discipline, writing on a schedule, collaboration. If you can't collaborate, never get into the television business. And it really hammered home the type of characters that I enjoyed and I wanted to invest my time with. And sometimes that time is almost a year you're spending with these characters.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know you were an actor. I have 100 questions about that, which we won't get to today, and that's okay. But that brings some added depth to why your stories, I've read some of your books, to why your stories are so rich. I mean, just the idea of what you said, being in front of the camera and then behind the camera, and then kind of like scripting, like writing a novel. Wow.
Right.
Well, I think a lot of people would love to sort of pull back the curtain and see how the film industry actually works. So looking back, could you like...
Oh, Lord. You know what? I can give you an idea of one aspect.
Okay.
Because a day on the set for a writer can be wonderful, just marvelous, as you see the words you labored over come to life. A writer / producer is usually on call day or night, depending on when they're filming. They're there, and really the only reason they're there is in case they need a rewrite of a scene. If the location or the executive producer or the star of the show demand a change, you've got to jump to, and you've got to get it done now. So for a writer, a good day can instantaneously change from wonderful to a heart-pounding writing experience that's just a killer. The writer or writers, I had a partner, run to a quiet corner or a trailer and start pounding the keys, right? The hard work, that the hardest part of it is trying to answer the request without destroying the work the team has already shot. Sometimes you pull a thread from a shirt and the shirt falls off. It's just, so you're writing, and as you're writing, you're checking your watch, and the minutes pass and the tension rises because the entire cast and crew are impatiently waiting for the new pages. So you bang it out, you get it done because there's no alternative.
Wow, that sounds so stressful, but what an experience.
No,
Wow.
and it really is. It really is.
Wow. All right, so thinking about the very different storytelling mechanics of screenwriting versus novel writing, do you have a preference since you've been like on every side of it, and what's your preference and why?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's novels. Novels win out. When I made the switch from television to novels, I was able to bring everything I learned in television into play. But the joy of writing my first novel was not having to adhere to a formula created by a television pilot episode. That's how it normally works. A pilot is done, they create the character, and even if it's on for 8 years, everyone has to stay within the parameters of what was created in that pilot episode. So you can't change, you can't reinvent the wheel, you can't do anything like that. You have to just take care of business and write what's there. So I had total freedom writing my first novel. I got pulled into a deal at Simon and Schuster, and nobody told me what to write. And I was able to create a story to explore the psychology and behavior, not only of my primary characters, but also my secondary tier. It was a joy. There was still collaboration involved, right? My publisher, my editor, my copy editor, but the whole experience just seemed just more reasonable. Just no one was trying to reinvent my wheel. Okay, they were only concerned with making the work better, and 9 times out of 10 they did. But it was still my choice whether to make the changes or not. And The Devil's Necktie, my first novel, and the first time in my career that I was doing a high wire act without a net. I was working without an outline. When you're working for television, it's a prerequisite of getting paid to outline. It had a concise outline. But now I could start with just a simple premise. Necktie. One night of passion for retired Inspector Jack Bertolino sent him on a deadly collision course with his past, and then let that fly. And it became a book, and then it became 6 other books. You know, it was just a wonderful experience.
Wow. Yeah, it started as a book and then it was a series and now it's going to be a movie. We'll talk about that later. But that's so interesting about kind of the structural constraints on story and character in Hollywood, because when it comes to fiction, not only is it allowed, but it's actually very much expected by readers that your character will evolve, will transform as a result of all the challenges that we're putting in front of them. And I think you definitely do that for Jack, which brings me to my next question. I was going to ask you, what do you think you have in common with Jack Bertolino, and how did your relationship with that character evolve?
Okay, that's a good question. Jack Bertolino, I wanted to write a flawed character because I'm a flawed character, right? Bertolino, as it turns out, because it evolved, but but Bertolino can face danger, right, and vanquish his enemies. And I get to write his life and death situations from the safety of my office and my computer. Uh, Bertolino has a heart of gold. I'd like to think I do. He can also be mercurial sometimes. And I know that sometimes I can also.
Love it. All right, so let's talk about Mia. Go ahead and hold up the book if you'd like. This was just released on June 4th. It's a beautiful cover too. Love that cover. Hold it back a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right, so I haven't read all of the Bertolino books in your series, but there's some real connection between Jack and Mia in the current book. I loved this book. I read it in 2 days, and I'm wondering what made you want to reveal more of that backstory, because this is really a series prequel, right? Can you?
Right. Well, again, when I created The Devil's Necktie, I knew I had to introduce a character for him to play off of. And the book needed a major inciting incident to get the story rolling. I was always interested in confidential informants because cops can't take down a major cartel, let's just say, because Jack dealt with a lot of that. Without somebody on the inside, it's impossible. It never happens.
Mhm.
So the book needed the inciting incident. Um, and Mia became that character. Something that I heard about, there was somebody who was a confidential informant and a woman, and Mia was born. It just seemed like the right way to go with this, and then I immediately clicked onto how I wanted to take that, and I can't take that right now because I need a spoiler alert,
Yeah, no spoilers.
and I'd rather hold on to that. But as the years passed, after like setting her up in the first book, people kept asking me about Mia. They wanted to know, more information about that wonderful character in The Devil's Necktie that, was short-lived. And personally, I enjoyed that relationship so much. And I loved her backstory so much that I wanted to show that because I knew it had dramatic value. Um, and I knew that I could create in that relationship. Jack always had a line in the sand he would never cross, working with confidential informants until you trust them. And I knew in the prequel to that, we'd see young Jack Bertolino and see him developing the relationship with Mia, and then see him fighting certain urges. And I just knew that it was a great way to I knew it would help me with the entire book. And in the end, the book's called Mia, so she plays a very important role in the book.
Yeah, she's an amazing character, and I think the fact that you position her as, Jack's weakness creates a lot of like rich tension in the book. I mean, you really kind of take us deep into the psychology of Jack and all of his kind of conflicts. And Mia as a character, I mean, she's so multidimensional, like in some ways she's a complete floozy. In other ways, she's like an absolutely like an absolute mastermind holding all the cards. I mean, she's very smart, and you never quite know what she knows.
Right.
And you keep that very close to the vest, and that's good. I mean, as a reader, I want to be surprised. I mean, I find no joy in figuring it out on like page 20 of a book. I want to be kept in the dark because that keeps me interested. It keeps me up past my
Right.
bedtime readings. I want to know what happens. I think you did a
Yeah.
great job with that book.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
That's really good to hear.
yeah.
But I love strong characters. I love strong women. I had three sisters. I grew up with three sisters and a powerful mother.
Mm.
And I'd say the lion's share of the women in my books are all powerful. And Jack is attracted to powerful women also.
Hmm.
And that keeps the storytelling moving, and that keeps the characters evolving, you know, because I have a cast of characters that make appearances in just about every book.
Yep.
You know.
Let's look at that. I almost just called you Jack, by the way, instead of John. So I think that's a good thing,
Actually,
right?
I grew up, my mom called me Jack because my father's name was John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so people that know me a long time still call me Jack.
Okay. Let's talk about the publishing industry for a minute. So, like looking across the publishing landscape in 2024, wow, we've had a lot of change, and even more so in the last couple of years. And you've been all over the publishing
Right.
and entertainment industry. What do you know now that you wish you knew 20 years ago about the publishing industry?
Well, there's a part of me, I don't like to look back, but there's a part of me that wishes I started sooner, just because I'm just having so much fun with this. Um, but I basically started writing about 20 years ago. Jesus Christmas, that's a long time ago, huh? And it was a hard business then. It's a hard business now. It's really just, it's not easy to be a writer, right? You work very hard to get your wonderful books out. But after you do that, you have to do your own marketing. You have to do everything, basically. You know, you'll get some help along the way, but you have to love the process. You have to be able to lose. What I love about it is when I lose myself in the story, right? When I'm able to get in the zone, to get to the point in the story where you're sitting behind your computer and time kind of stands still. And the characters start telling me where they need to go and what they need to accomplish. And it sounds a little artsy fartsy, but it's true. You know, you can get there. And when you're there, oh my God, it's as powerful as anything else. And it's the best part of writing. Um, yeah.
Totally.
If you don't love this process day to day, find something else to do because it's not going to change.
Mhm.
Things change, but you know what I'm saying? It's still, you have to work it, you have to stay on top of it,
Yep.
and other than that, I don't know how to. It was always tough.
Mhm.
That's all I can say.
Well, I think you're doing pretty well, as like all things considered, and especially now with this new book. I know we're here mostly talking about Mia, to help with your book launch, but I also want to talk about The Devil's Necktie. I mean, wow,
Right.
that's sort of the zenith of author success, don't you think? A book to film
Yeah.
adaptation. How involved have you been in the development of that film?
It's being sold as a television series. Um, Almost a year ago, I wrote the pilot. So I was hired to write the pilot. Andrea Lido and Barbara DeFina are on board to produce, and they're out with it, and they're working very hard to get it turned into a television series.
That's exciting. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that. You'll have to keep me updated.
You bet I will.
Okay. All right. So this series, this story impact series, is all about the impact, meaning, and purpose of our
Right,
books on readers. What do you
right.
see as your purpose as a writer?
Just to write engaging story, and complex character I enjoy spending time with because, again, I know I said this before, but I might be spending a year of my life with the characters. That's It's
Mm.
just storytelling. I liked telling stories and engaging people.
What do you want readers to really understand about Jack Bertolino after reading Mia?
Just that he's a talented, flawed detective with a big heart, and he's a man of his word. If he says he's going to be there to help, he shows up. He doesn't pay anybody lip service.
That's right.
He's a good man. I should be so lucky.
What are you working on next? Aside from The Devil's Necktie, what are you writing right now?
Yeah. I'm just about finished with Embedded. It's a brand new book, new protagonist, new story, the whole 9 yards. I started working on it over the pandemic. It's called Embedded. I think we all know what Embedded is, but disgraced Army Ranger Dakota Judd is offered a life-altering deal from Gene Steele, an ambitious and attractive Black FBI agent. Infiltrate a white supremacist prison gang while incarcerated, then embed himself into the militia on the outside. He has to become the eyes and ears of the FBI. If he's successful, his record will be expunged. If he fails, he's going to wind up dead.
Ooh, that's powerful. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, I hope soon.
Thank you so much for joining, John. Again, this is Story Impact, a YouTube series intended to showcase authors, their writing journey, and the unique perspectives that drive the creation of their books. Please visit johnlansing.com to check out Mia and the Jack Bernalillo series. Thank you so much for joining us today, and let's keep those stories going.
A total pleasure. Thank you.